Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Sports Ball Talk Show.
What's going on?
This has been... So you know how there's like a... whenever you're growing up, there's like portions of your life where you like question things, like life questioning things like, am I making the right career decision? Am I focusing my attention on the right things? Am I with the right person? You have these like defining moments. Well, I had one of those this past weekend.
Really?
Yep.
Care to explain?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the Week 4 games, but I'm going to start with this one because I think it's the most important one to talk about. We're going to talk about the Jets and the Chiefs.
Okay, fair. I'll give you that one.
The past 2 days, since the game ended up until midday today, I was prepared to come on this show and make the bold announcement that I was no longer a Chiefs fan. But I can't control...
You wussed out?
Can I finish my statement?
Okay.
You'd be saying the same thing if Taylor Swift was taking all the attention away from your team.
I would quit.
You what? You would?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what a lot of fans are doing nowadays.
Chargers.
They're being replaced by these people. And before we'll do the Taylor Swift thing first because we're going to talk about this last week.
I hate Taylor Swift.
And we decided not to. And so we're going to talk about this week because it's gotten out of hand. But then I also want to talk about the more serious issues at hand. And then I want to talk about my man Zach Wilson and the absolute game he put on. He changed the quarterback he's at. But we'll start with the Taylor Swift situation. So I'm not going to be one of those guys that comes in and like just tries to, I guess, gatekeep football and say like, oh, no one can watch it. The NFL is a business. Their target market is men, obviously. Like, that's who watches football primarily. But as a business, you want to encapsulate as many people as possible. The more people that watch your product as an entertainment business, the better. So they've been thinking, how the hell can we get women, particularly young women, to watch our product? And it took Taylor Swift. And so this happened. I understand the NFL has to take that into account to some degree. Like, now you have this new base of people. That's why I understood with some of the... some of the commentating, not like mid-game commentating, but some of the like talking about the game and games that have happened, and a lot of podcasts like the New Heights podcast, which is Travis Kelce's podcast, so it makes sense that he would do it. But
Shout out New Heights, good
podcast. But I understand that you have to explain things in more simplified, basic terms because they're learning the game. And it's not to be an asshole or rude, but it's just like everyone who has to learn something, you have to talk to them like they don't know anything. So I saw this one clip from the New Heights podcast where Jason Kelce was answering like basic questions like what is a down in the NFL? Stuff like that. And I was like, okay, like that's, to me, it's a dumb question, but obviously somebody who's never watched football, that's fine. And I thought that's really good. There's more people that are watching the product, more people that you can like watch with at a Super Bowl party or at a bar that are going to be in on it. That's all really cool.
Right.
But it's been taken to a disgusting level because now...
Explain.
The NFL's official Instagram bio said the Chiefs are 2-0 with Taylor Swift at games.
Oh, I remember.
Now, if it were not...
I cringed at seeing that.
One, it's disgusting, but two, if it were anyone but the Chiefs, it wouldn't be looked at as bad. But because the Chiefs are the current NFL dynasty, they're already looked at a more harsh lens for things like rigging games and refs giving them easy calls, things like that. They're already on a very thin line of people like just blowing up at them and being okay with them. And when you throw this in there and you put it in the NFL's Instagram bio, when they haven't really had an impressive win this season yet. They lost to the Lions. They barely beat the Jaguars.
They barely beat the Jets.
They barely beat the Jets. Yes, and we'll get into the ref stuff with that because there is something to be said there.
Yeah.
And then they blew out the Bears, but it's the fucking Bears. So, like, what does that mean, right?
Blew out literally the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah, so, and then aside from that is I, as someone who is the majority of my life outside of, like, work and family is football for me. I love it. I watch it. I listen to shows about it. I read stats. I bet money on it. Football is my favorite thing outside of family. So I was very... trying to be understanding of welcoming these new people in. But then I see Taylor Swift fans saying, oh, Taylor Swift's just dating Kelce and he's going to put him on the map and shit like that. I'm like, I understand you don't know football, but he is the best tight end currently in the NFL. Yeah. He has 7 straight 1,000 receiving yard seasons, multiple All-Pros, multiple Pro Bowls. He is the guy in the NFL as a tight end. There's probably more men that know his name than don't. Right. Now, I understand Taylor Swift is the reverse with women, and every woman knows Taylor Swift as opposed to not knowing her. But the majority of the NFL, I feel like, at least at first, was understanding, and they weren't like immediately. There are obviously some people, they weren't immediately like, oh, fuck Taylor Swift, she's trying to leech off of Travis Kelce and all this shit. Right. Well, most people were like, I'm a little whatever, but I'm going to like give it a chance. But then they would go and do this, the NFL gets on the bandwagon of it, and now it's like, it feels embarrassing to say you're a fan of the Chiefs because it's hard to be a fan of a team. Not, I can't say it's hard to be a fan of a winning team because obviously you want that. But you as a fan are looked at through a harsher lens when you support a good team, even if you supported them through bad times.
Right.
And so when you introduce every female in the country that's watching football for the first time ever, and the most annoying group of people, which is Taylor Swift fans, the most annoying group of people in the country.
You guys are annoying. You guys are ridiculous. Learn to behave.
Like, I thought Jackson Mahomes was bad.
Yeah.
Like, now I think...
they're on par.
No, they're not.
I don't know.
Here's what we need. We need a Jackson Mahomes villain arc come back and cake out. I want to see his ass in that box seat, not Taylor Swift.
I want him. I want Jackson Mahomes to have a Taylor Swift cutout and just dance on her on the field.
All I'm saying is, if there was ever a time, I would have bet my life savings a year ago that I would never beg for Jackson Mahomes to come back, but I would love for him to come back and just get rid of the Taylor Swift involvement with the Chiefs and replace it with him. Because although what he did was obviously there's a crime that he did, but even aside from that, he was very disrespectful at games, very prissy, and like, yeah, well, I'm winning. No, you're not. Your brother's the best quarterback in the NFL. You're just his brother that's leeching off of him for money on TikTok. But the fan base that he brought was this compared to Taylor Swift. And no one liked Jackson Mahomes, all right? Probably the same people that like Taylor Swift, but a very small portion. But they're the same people. Jackson Mahomes fans and Taylor Swift fans are part of the same nucleus of people, the dregs of society.
Gross.
And although Taylor Swift fans, they're not better. They're bigger.
Yeah.
They're a bigger mass.
Oh.
Okay, that's not what I meant, but that is probably true as well. No, there are more Taylor Swift fans than Jackson Mahomes fans. And there's all these stats about, like, Travis Kelce jersey sales going up 400% and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, yeah, it's cool, money, but they are ruining a team that I have been a fan of for a long time. I liked the Chiefs before they were Super Bowl champions. I liked them a decade ago. The first NFL game I ever watched, I think I've told you this story, probably haven't told the show. I was at my grandparents' house when I was a kid, probably 8 or 9, and I was just scrolling through the channels. I saw football. Obviously, I knew what football was, but I never watched it. And it was a Bengals-Chiefs game. And I was like, ooh, red's my favorite color. I'm going to support that team. And since then, I've liked the Chiefs.
And red is his favorite color.
And obviously, being a Georgia native, I like the Falcons too, right. But, you know... Just like you like the Dolphins. UGA, of course, for college. But, you know, so it was awesome to see that, you know, we established ourselves as a dynasty in the NFL. That's something that very few teams, like the Niners have done it, the Steelers have done it, the Patriots have done it, the Chiefs have done it. Couple other teams you can maybe say at one point did, but none of them really won several Super Bowls with the same core members. Even though there were teams like the undefeated Dolphins, that was arguably the best NFL team of all time because they were undefeated, but they didn't go and win 3-4 Super Bowls with that team. So it's nice to see that happens to, it's a very elite class that gets there. And then it just gets ruined by this. And I have tried to be unbiased with the ref situation, which is what we're going to get into now because that's enough bitching about T Swift.
Wait, before we end with bitching.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say, I personally fell for the TikTok trend of someone recording me and be like, look, Taylor Swift put someone on the map. Alora did this to me, actually. She got me riled up. She got me riled up. I was like, are you stupid?
The funniest thing is seeing guys do the reverse. I saw one video earlier of a guy doing it. It's like, dude, this Travis Kelce, the tight end, he's putting this chick Taylor Swift on that. She's gonna blow up now because of him. And she was like, excuse me? Like, freaked out. It's fun. That kind of stuff, funny. On a personal level, like one-on-one with your friend, it's funny. But when you do it when people have like a platform, like a podcast, and they do it, like, okay, no, neither one of them realistically is putting anyone on a platform. They're both two of the most successful, famous people in their respective fields. Yeah. Taylor Swift, obviously massive singing artist, gets a lot of listens, lets lots of people to concerts. The NFL gets millions of people watching their product every day. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions every season, billions probably billions definitely if you accumulate everything. Yeah. So neither one of them is putting the other one on the map. They're just a celebrity couple that is not going to last more than 2 months.
And Taylor's gonna make money off of Kelsey's.
Oh yeah, she's gonna create a couple songs. I think it's gonna be over 2. I think the over under for songs created by Taylor Swift about Kelce post breakup is 2.5. I'm gonna hit the over. Oh, okay. I think she does a good like half album, like a little mini album from Travis Kelce. So I don't know if you wanna get in on those odds over under 2.5 songs made about Travis Kelce. Over, yeah, it's obvious. But we'll move on to the refs because in conjunction with that, the refs thing is what really, and it happens.
So what about that safety, man?
Okay, so we're going to talk about a couple different things, but I want to give some backstory. I want to give not presupposition, you know what I mean. It's a word. Before coming into this, what my thoughts are.
Your precranial thoughts.
Yeah, my precranial thoughts, my Homo erectus thoughts.
Yeah, there you go.
And so any team that is winning, it happened with the Patriots, it happens with the Chiefs now. Any team that's elevated themselves to a higher level gets looked at more harshly by the fans when refs make bad calls. Mm-hmm. And we talked about it before. I have said sometimes there were bad calls against the Chiefs, and sometimes calls weren't that bad. It was just because of the Chiefs that they're getting calls made on them. Obviously, being a fan of the Chiefs, it's hard to be unbiased, but I try my best to be unbiased, and I think you could agree that I'm unbiased most of the time.
You do a good job.
This game, I can't defend it. That holding call on Sauce Gardner should not have been a penalty. And here's why I say it shouldn't have been a penalty. If the ref threw the flag as soon as it happened, I would be okay with it. Because we talked about it before about
waited.
Exactly. But we've talked about it before about at the end of games, people say you need to let them play, not call penalties, and I've said I believe it's the exact opposite because you can't set the precedent that you can break the rules when the game is in dire straits. And I think that's true. The problem is that the ref waited because the holding call was at the beginning of the play, then he broke out of the holding call. Mahomes threw it, and he even said in a post-game interview that he threw it trying to draw the holding call, which you can't shit on him for that. Like, undisputed, you can't. Every quarterback does that. Tua has done it, and it actually got him some points a couple of games ago. Every quarterback does that. When you see a penalty, you throw the ball and hope that they call it so you can get a free first down. But the fact that the ref waited until not only he broke free, Patrick Mahomes threw the ball, then he intercepted it, then he pulls up the flag and throws it. And that just makes it look like you did it to save the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And that's not going to say that the Chiefs would have lost that game necessarily because they were still up by 3, and Zach Wilson up until this game has not looked very good. But he looked very, very good this last game.
He looked very solid and very poised.
He only needed a field goal to send it to overtime. Mm-hmm. And I feel pretty confident that the role and the momentum that he had throughout that game, he probably could have gone down to the 40, 30-yard line and gotten a field goal and sent it to overtime. So I'm not going to say it lost the game for the Jets, but it robbed them of the chance to send it to overtime and win the game. And
this is where Taylor Swift comes in.
Is it?
I think so. Had the NFL not posted the Chiefs are 2-0 with Taylor Swift, I don't think the refs would have behaved the way they did.
And that's where I was kind of going with this, is I am a firm believer that the NFL is not rigged. Undisputably, I don't think it's rigged. Like, there might be a couple things here and that. It's like, oh, it's a little suspicious. But overall, I don't think a team is winning a Super Bowl versus going 3-12 in a season because of the refs. And NFL rigging and Vegas odds and things like that. But the NFL stands to make so much fucking money from the Chiefs performing well that I think that if they told the ref, they kind of told him beforehand, make sure that the Chiefs don't, if you see an opportunity to help the Chiefs and you can make it make sense, obviously don't throw a flag when there's literally nothing, but on a weak holding call like that where you can, the ref obviously can do that. It's within the rules to do that. It was a holding call by the slimmest margin, but you shouldn't because there are so many other calls throughout every game that don't result in that, and holding is one of those that gets called sometimes and it doesn't, even if one's obvious and one's not, so it's really tough to debate about those. But this one in that situation combined with the Taylor Swift situation is what makes this brutal as a fan, because now I have to say I'm a Chiefs fan and then everyone's like, oh yeah, you're the guy who like Taylor Swift, right? The guy who bandwagons fans because you're winning, all that shit, and I don't like it. I don't want Taylor Swift associated with my team. I want the Chiefs to lose the rest of the season. I want them to lose every game, and next year and the year after that.
Does that mean I win my bet?
If they do it, yeah.
Okay, well.
If they do,
let's root against the Chiefs, baby. Let's go.
If they do it, because I need, and I said this as a joke a year ago, whenever they lost to the Bucs, or maybe beginning of last season when they had lost a couple games. I was like, I'm kind of okay if they lose a couple. I'll be you should never root against your team, but if it siphons off the dregs of the fan base, I'm okay with that because Mahomes can go win.
You want your purists.
Yeah, and even if they lose one season and it's a horrible loss, Mahomes can go still win 4 more Super Bowls. So. I want them all gone. I want the Chiefs to lose next week. I want them to lose the week after that.
They play the Chargers the week 6?
I want Travis Kelce specifically to do poor. I want Taylor Swift to be up in the box seats watching Travis Kelce catch a ball, fumble it for a defensive recovery and touchdown. So Taylor Swift knows that her boyfriend caused a defensive touchdown in whatever game that takes place in. I'm sick of it. I'm at my wit's end with this shit. And I don't like it. I'm sick of it.
I'm with you on that one.
With Zach Wilson, I think that he has showed an insane level of maturity since last season because one good game does not make you a good quarterback if you've been bad for so many years like him. But the one thing that was different was last season he got asked, do you feel like you let your team down because you could only put up 3 points, whatever game it was, when their defense only allowed like 6 points? And he's like, no, I don't feel like I let them down. That's arrogant. That's pompous. That's incorrect. You should feel like you let the team down. This game, they barely lost, and arguably it was because of the refs' bad calls. And he said, no, that's on me, that's my fault. Even before the interview, you could see him mouthing it on the sidelines. He's like, that's on me, bro, it's my fault, I'm sorry, to his teammates. And then in the post-game interview, he said it again, like, yeah, that was on me, I can't let plays like that happen. Because there was at one point where he fumbled a snap, and that obviously, potentially lost him the game. But I wanted to see him get
We've seen a lot of growth out of Zach Wilson, especially over the course of the games where he had to set up. The team wasn't accustomed to his cadence at all. It was really accustomed and tuned to Aaron Rodgers' cadence. And over the last 3 games, it's all been improvement from Zach Wilson. Maybe Saleh was onto something when he said they were riding the Zach Wilson train.
And at this point,
if they could keep up with the Chiefs, who got a pretty solid defense.
I mean, Chiefs obviously they're the team to beat in the NFL.
Oh yeah,
just because of the Super Bowl champions.
And to put up this much of a game.
Yeah,
kudos.
I mean, I hate to be one of those commentators that just rides with the wave of media, because a couple weeks ago I was saying get someone else to replace Zach Wilson.
We have,
but now that he is showing it, I'm not saying they shouldn't still go get a quarterback. They signed Trevor Siemian. I guess that's fine. But I if I were them, I would still get a veteran. Not just because you want to bench Zach Wilson, but he could go down 1. And 2, although Aaron Rodgers is still involved, he's not going to be involved in the same way that someone else could. And I think having a vet behind him could continue helping him grow. Making some decisions that rookies make. And I mean, although he's not a rookie, he's still a rookie in his general career because he's so young, he's still fresh. He hasn't really had a season with a really good team around him up until now. Not like last year's team was good, obviously, but not to this caliber where he's had a chance where like Zach Wilson could go win it if he steps it up. So I think getting someone behind him to just help him make some of those, split-second decisions in game would be beneficial to him. Whether you want to ride with him or not, I still think signing someone who has experience might not be the worst idea. But I'd say ride with Zach Wilson at this point because he proved himself last night. I think that he's now earned the respect of the team, which is huge. That's one thing that you cannot buy with whatever quarterback you get on the market. Besides like a few like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, you could buy, leadership with that because everyone's going to respect them the second they walk in the door. But even veterans, you can't just sign him and expect everyone to respect them and follow them as a leader. But it seems like Zach's getting to that point where he's earned it.
He's earning it from his teammates.
And that's huge. Having a camaraderie in the locker room is huge. That's what we saw with Aaron Rodgers throughout the offseason. And now it's seeming like Zach Wilson is kind of stepping into those shoes a little bit. But yeah, this was just a brutal game to watch. It's definitely going to be the game of the week in terms of what's being talked about.
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily funnest to watch, but yeah, that was a tough game, man. I was pissed at the end of it. Even though the Chiefs won, I was pissed. That game made my heart hurt, but we'll move on.
Moving on. That's a lot of Chiefs Jets in that one, man.